What's going on, everybody? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and today we're going to talk about the latest survey from the Generation Zero team. If any of you dudes have been paying attention to your home screen in Generation Zero or the various social media from the Generation Zero team, you know that there has been a survey that was put out, I think, a week ago from the team. And as per usual, I like to talk about these surveys because they're incredibly hype and they're the opportunity that we have as the community to kind of shape and guide the future of this game. So today we're going to talk about the options that I selected in some of the more interesting sections of this survey. And also, if any of you dudes haven't filled out this survey yet, there will be a link to it in the description down below. But first things first, before we start talking about the survey, PONOS dropped a little bit of a bomb. Our boy Pono gave a spicy little spoiler as to what's going to be coming on in 2021 here for us in Generation Zero. So I'm going to let that clip play out really quickly, and you dudes can speculate on what it means. For now, there isn't any sort of solid information, but I still think that it's incredibly spicy.
Pontus, are we getting more updates on 2021? 2021 is gonna be an awesome year for GC. Believe me, there's gonna be something really nice for you in store next year. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. But yeah, we're gonna have a blast next year. Believe me. Believe me.
So what this means is yet to be seen, but honestly, it's incredibly spicy. 2021 is going to be a massive year for Generation Zero, and honestly, 2020 was a huge year for Generation Zero as well. So the fact that it's going to be something that we can look forward to is just awesome. It's just awesome. Now, let's get back into talking about the survey here. So for me, the most interesting part about the survey was the stuff that's talking about the future of Generation Zero. All of that little bits of information about like how often you play and how long you play is really great for the team to understand, but isn't really worth mentioning too much. So let's talk about some of these options and some of these questions that they had for the future of Generation Zero here. Now, first things first is a question about like what the cadence and content size is of our preference. And basically cadence just means like how often something is going to happen in the most simplest terms. So for me, what I said was a mix of big and small, but at least new, free, or paid content once per month. And the reason why is because I think that in a lot of ways, we live in a time where it's like our attention spans are so short because we have so many different things to do, so many different games to play. And in my opinion, in order to keep the majority of people playing Generation Zero, having a regular cadence of content, that monthly drop of something interesting, something to look forward to, is incredibly beneficial to Generation Zero for maintaining its player base and for keeping the people that are playing the game interested in playing the game. Now, on the other hand, if there was paid content once per month, my wallet would absolutely hate me. But on the other hand, we're going to actually talk about monetization later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. Now, it could be argued that having regular drops of content can kind of do a quantity over quality kind of thing here in Generation Zero. But that's why I think that it would be good for us to get really small things just once per month, you know? Maybe a new outfit, a new t-shirt, a new cosmetic item of some sort. Maybe once per month there could be something like the holy hand grenade that could pop up, or the semla, or something like that. Just something relatively small introduced into the game, as opposed to just like massive things once per month, because that just is unrealistic in terms of development and also in terms of the quality of the product that we'll get at the end. But on the other hand, as long as the gears are turning and as long as we're getting that one thing per month, then the team can also work on something really big in the background and then have that really big thing get the quality that it deserves and have that also come out, maybe once or twice a year. Like in comparison being like Phoenix Rising or Alpine Unrest or something like that. And so for the next question that I'd like to talk about is what type of machine you would like to see in the future. And this is the only time in the survey where I kind of gave an all of the above answer. In my opinion, I think that the community just really wants a new machine. It doesn't really matter how that machine is entirely. It's more so just the fact that we want something new. We want to experience something new to fight. Not so much a new class or a new type of old machines that we've been fighting for almost 2 years now, but something fresh, something exciting to fight, something with maybe new mechanics to it or something like that. So for me, I just said all of the above because whatever they put into the game, in my personal opinion, will be a great addition because I trust this team. I know that they know what would be best for a machine, and also I know that they don't take it lightly, because otherwise we would have just seen like new machines left and right over the span of the past almost 2 years now. Now, next up is a question about what we would like to see added to the crafting system. And what I went with, without even half a second of thought, is weapon crafting. Building a weapon from scratch. Now, this is something that I think is lumped into the mountain of potential that Generation Zero has, in which case Generation Zero can really play off of the world that it exists in and really do something unique from other first-person shooters. Even though Far Cry 6 is kind of coming out with this hobbled together weapon system, which I think is really awesome, I think that Generation Zero could also have a kind of similar thing going on. Like a hypercharged nail gun that's powered off of like machine fuel cells or something like that like punches absolute holes in them, or something designed off of machine technology, taking maybe like the hunter's vibrosword and turning it into a melee weapon, or taking a tank's machine gun and turning that into some sort of like really heavy machine gun that you can use, or a stationary machine gun that you could set up or something like that. I really think that weapon crafting could be a awesome thing here in Generation Zero, above all else, because the other thing too is that would give the crafting system a kind of positive feedback kind of thing, where you're really working towards something and then you make it and then you're like, yeah, I made this thing, now I can go off and actually use it in the world. And that was something that I thought was awesome about the most recent addition to the crafting system, was that we finally got things that we can actually use in the world. Like apparel crafting is really awesome, getting extra defenses and stuff like that, but there's nothing tangible in that we can really, play with as the players. And so I think that weapon crafting, personally, is the next really big step that would be awesome to see happen in the crafting system here in Generation Zero. And then on top of that too, it would be great to see it mixed in with like all of the militaristic weapons, so that way if you have a preference for the militaristic weapons, you could still use them. They would still be viable and a ton of fun to play with, but also there would be the opportunity for the weapon system in Generation Zero to expand greatly. Just kind of removing the limitations that traditional weaponry bring with them. And on that note, with the next question, it was asking about what sort of weapons would be nice to see added to the game. And so I went with handguns, assault rifles, and melee weapons. The reason why I picked melee weapons is because I just really want that hunter vibrosword. So I'm just gonna stick with that and stick to my guns, so that way maybe someday we could potentially see it come to the game. But on the other hand, I think that it would be really awesome to see the handguns expanded on, because realistically there's a lot of variety that could be had with handguns, I think. From other single action type handguns, kind of similar to the Magnus, and other semi-automatic handguns, similar to the Clock or the Molar. So I think it would be really cool, some sort of deagle, something like that. It would be pretty awesome. And then for assault rifles, again, I just feel like the assault rifles are kind of the bread and the butter of combat here in Generation Zero, and so it would be nice to have more bread and butter to work with, you know. Something that would be cool to see is maybe some Swedish experimental weapons that weren't actually used by the military, but were experimented on and toyed with by the Swedish military. You know, it would be cool to see maybe assault rifles from different countries come to the game too, maybe in the form of some sort of NATO drop or something like that. I just think that assault rifles, as the bread and butter of combat here in Generation Zero, it would be nice to see more options. Then next up for features that we would like to see come to the game, I of course went with base building, because base building. I just, you know, I'm gonna advocate for this till the end. Then next up was warring factions, which is machines versus NPC resistance fighters. I think that this would be really awesome, like, not just from a storytelling standpoint, because that would be awesome, but also for expanding on the NPCs themselves. And then also just for the visual interest of sitting back and watching some NPCs fight it out. I think that it would be really fun, and I think it would be really cool and beneficial to the world of Generation Zero. And then lastly, daily missions, because again, I'm just, you know, looking at that short attention span kind of aspect of the world we live in, and I think that daily missions would be really good, you know, some sort of daily missions from the Resistance or from the Iron Church or something like that. I think that it would really benefit the game. Now, these daily missions could be kind of like some of the missions that you see in Phoenix Rising, where you're going off and you're maybe gathering supplies from a harvester drop station, or maybe you're going into one of those Phoenix buildings and you're hacking some machines or something like that, or you're going off and you're seeking out some particular rivals for either a specific resource or because that rival is causing troubles for the Resistance or something. I think that there's a lot of variety that could be had with daily missions here. And next up, what equipment would we like to be added to the game? I went with motorbikes, body armor, and traps. So for motorbikes, this is something that we as a community have wanted ever since that concept art came out, before the game even launched, of a dude riding on a dirt bike, riding away from a bunch of machines. I think it would be awesome because, like, not only could you use it as a form of lure, but also it would add a really fast method of transportation into the game, which in its own way is a good thing, but is also kind of a bad thing. So maybe motorbikes and dirt bikes themselves could be something that's maybe like level locked, just like how experimental weapons are level locked. We could only get motorbikes components or stuff like that after level 25, so that way at that point you've had the opportunity to really experience the map, and then you would have the opportunity to travel over the ground that you've already traversed much quicker and much more efficiently. And then also, on the other hand, maybe the motorbikes could be destroyed by machines, making them a little bit more volatile to drive around on. And potentially, too, you could take much more severe damage when you crash off of a motorbike. And then next up for body armor, I just feel like alongside the apparel schematics, it would be nice to have other options for improving your character's defenses. And so body armor is just kind of the logical step in that direction, I think, personally. And then lastly for traps, I think that the trap system of Generation Zero is one of the great examples of how sandbox Generation Zero actually is, and seeing the trap system get expanded on would only be a good thing in my opinion. For question 36, it's which features do you think we could add to improve or affect your preferred playstyle? And I went with repeatable activities because, again, as a endgame player, as a longtime player of Generation Zero, it would be nice to have the game give me some things to do alongside my own personal objectives. Now for the final portion of this video, where I think I'm maybe gonna ruffle some feathers here, but hear me out, my dudes, this is just my perspective and my opinion on things. So the questionnaire asks how I feel about the pricing of DLC, and then also what type of DLC would I be interested in the team exploring in the future. Now, I personally picked all of the aspects of DLC, and I know that a lot of members of the community are really adverse to Generation Zero becoming pay to win. Uh, but I have kind of a different perspective on things. Personally, I don't view progress boosters or buying the experimental weapons or anything like that as being quote unquote pay to win. Yes, it does benefit the person who buys the stuff by giving them the opportunity to use overpowered things or max out a character or something like that. Far easier than, say, if you were to play the game just completely vanilla. But on the other hand, I one of the things that I've seen in this community come up time and time again is people saying that they don't have the time to put into something, or that they're incredibly frustrated because they've been grinding for a specific experimental weapon for ages and have not gotten it due to just bad luck, because that's a thing whenever RNG is factored into a video game. Now, my thought process is giving these people the opportunity to purchase something, if they so choose, is only beneficial, in my opinion, of course, because then the people have the opportunity to experience the thing they want. And if they don't have the patience to play through the game, to put in 100 hours to get their experimental KVM, then they could pay like $10 and get that experimental KVM. It's a win-win situation because the person that wanted the thing gets the thing they wanted, and then on top of that, the team gets the funding that they deserve in order to continue supporting the game. Because this is something that I feel gets lost in translation. Like, video games are an industry. They need to make money, right? And so, in my opinion, the more opportunities Generation Zero has to make money, the more money they could put into the game, the more they could expand the team in order to have the manpower to put behind Generation Zero that it truly deserves. And in the end, the longer we can see Generation Zero be supported for by Systemic Reaction and by Avalanche Studios. So personally, I say bring on the paid DLC, man. You know, if it gives me more content to enjoy in terms of equipment packs, new game modes, expansion packs, cosmetics and stuff like that, then it's something that I personally want. I would love to be able to pay the team for little bits of content and stuff like that, because I do think that as an industry and also as a fantastic video game, Generation Zero deserves not just the moral and emotional support, but they also deserve that financial support that we can give them. And even though my wallet would absolutely hate me for it, it's still something that I think would be a good thing in the long run. And, you know, overall, I think could create many win-win situations. And again, on the whole, like, pay-to-win topic, there is no winning in Generation Zero because there's no competition in Generation Zero. In the end, the thing that the paying for, like, you know, schematics or instant level ups or experimental weapons would benefit is the ability for that person to experience the game how they want to experience it. And ultimately, I think that that's a better form of winning than what the traditional pay-to-win opinion actually is. So yeah, there's my spicy hot take on paid DLC, and that's going to be the opinion that I have for the long run. It's the opinion that I had back when Generation Zero first launched, and it's the opinion that I have almost 2 years later. So there you go, my dudes. That's everything that I found super interesting from the recent player survey. As always, share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Do you think I'm absolutely wrong on that pay-to-win thing? Then, you know, chew me out in the comments. Do you agree with me on any of these things? Then let me know down in the comments. As always, I want to get a conversation started here just to know what you dudes are thinking and what you dudes are feeling about this survey in particular. And if you haven't filled out that survey, Again, it's down in the description below. Go off, fill it out, voice your opinion for the future of Generation Zero. But for now, I've been Tenebris, you've been awesome, and I will catch you dudes in the next one. Until then, peace.